presentation okay now? Can you see the whole slide?
It's great, full screen. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, I would like to introduce ourselves. So I am Hélène Join-Lambert. I am the coordinator for this project. I'm a professor in education at the University of Nanterre in France. And Amel.
Good morning. I'm Amel. I'm the project manager for Cocoso. I'm PhD in social sciences. And that's all.
Thank you, Amel.
You're
and
welcome.
Michael.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Roussel from University of Innsbruck in Austria, and I lead the training and career development parts of the Cocoso network, which is kind of half of what the activities of Cocoso will be involved.
Thank you. So I will say a few words about the project itself, which is also a research project and a training project. And then Michael will say a bit more about the training, and Amel will give you some information on how to apply if you're interested. So this program is called Cocoso Co-Construction in the Field of Social Welfare. It's a Marie Curie industrial doctoral network, which means that it's, as you will see, doctoral candidates will be involved at universities, but also in non-academic places. The project runs until, it has started now, and it runs until end of 28. It includes 22 partners from different countries. There are 4 research and practice objectives, which I will explain very briefly. And we are now starting to recruit 15 PhD researchers. So the overall aim of this network and this project is to make co-construction a meaningful reality for all stakeholders in the field of social welfare. So that includes, of course, people with lived experience of social welfare, as well as organizations and practitioners. Here are all the organizations involved in this network. So you can see we have 6 universities: Nanterre, Aalborg, Lisbon, Trace, Warsaw, and Innsbruck. And then we have 16 non-academic partners, from which we have 13 NGOs and 3 local authorities. And I think there are 10 or 11 countries involved. So the objectives that we have defined, the 22 of us, we have worked on these objectives together. So we can see that citizens experiencing welfare systems in Europe are often subject to one or several factors of inequality, and this hinders their participation. So this project seeks meaningful and efficient participation of these citizens, including, as I said, people with experience of using services, practitioners who deliver services, and also decision makers and policy makers at various levels. We want to develop research tools and practice tools in 4 key areas. Here are the key areas. We have put them together in 4 work packages. I'm not going to go into the details, just share the objectives of each work package. First one is develop a common understanding of co-construction. So this is working on, if possible, on one definition or several definitions that make co-construction. The second one is embed co-construction in policies and services. So this is about implementing and looking how it works because in some places it is already in place. See how it can be also spread further. The third work package is about diversity and including everyone in co-construction processes. And the fourth one is about digital tools and their potential for participation in social services. In order to reach these four objectives, we have designed 15 smaller research projects. And these are the 15 doctoral projects that we are now looking to find researchers for. So I don't know if you can see it. I'm a bit embarrassed. So each work package has a range of DCs, of doctoral candidates, and each doctoral candidate will be involved in one specific work package. So work package 1 has 3 candidates, work package 2 has 4, work package 3 has 4, and work package 4 has 4 as well. You will see the details on each project if you go on our website. And I think you may have seen the website as you have found the link for this session today. And for each candidate, we have now details on your access. I will now give the floor to Michael, who will talk about the training.
So the idea about Cocoso is that we're actually trying to train researchers, both to do very excellent research, but also to get into non-academic careers. So if you're going to apply for this thing, it's valuable that you know the orientation is trying to get people to then work in a diverse range of sectors where they could apply research skills and knowledge. So the training will involve contact with people and input on a wide range of skills, policy work, advocacy, direct practice with people who use services, evaluation, how to train professionals, supervision, leadership, project design, and there's quite a lot more. And bearing in mind that those type of careers in the social sector are often, people don't kind of stay in one post for many years. They often change between posts. So we're trying to prepare people to be able to respond quite flexibly to opportunities that come up and to combine opportunities. But that's important to bear in mind when you're thinking about Cook, so that this is not a classic academic PhD network where people will then go into universities. The idea is to get you very much being able to bring research into the social sector. How are we going to do that? At the network level, every 6 months, roughly, there'll be a 2-week intensive study block in one of the different locations, so in one of the partner universities. So that means you will be traveling a lot, every 6 months minimum. And that will bring together all 15 candidates and potentially other PhD students to whom we've opened the event. And you can see the list of the 6 training areas that will run through the whole Cocoso network. And you can see sort of only one is directly about the research skills. So that first one, advanced research skills. Others think more about skills for the sector, gender diversity, how to communicate, disseminate, distribute research, transferable skills, things like presentations, that's things like different writing skills, working at team level, working with complexity. And importantly, we won't, we give a deliberate focus to issues of well-being and mental health, which a doctoral project is intense work. It's quite, there always can feel there are challenges, so we're mindful of that. And in addition to that training at the network level, so that will be for all 15 candidates together, you'll get training opportunities in the university that you're registered in, and you will have the supervision both from the two colleagues directly looking after your PhD project, so one from the university and one from the practice setting you're in. But there'll also be within the small work package teams, group meetings for kind of peer support and peer supervision of your research projects. So that's why we say you will be there will be quite a strong focus on the training in addition to your individual PhD projects. So you kind of to understand the flavor of Cocoso taking part. Thanks, Helen.
Michael, would you like to talk about this slide as well?
Yes, this is the important part because this is the employment contract. So everyone, all the researchers in Cocoso will receive an employment contract. So it's not a scholarship, it's not a fellowship, you're directly employed by the organization that is host, and you are then subject to all the employment law of that country. So that's important. Now, these are 100% full-time jobs. You're not allowed to have any side work, according to Marie Curie. The only potential to do part-time work is if you have family reasons, so personal reasons for needing to go part-time, that then get approved by the European Union in Brussels. But you can't be doing anything else, like even little projects on the side, if you've got employment. That's quite a strong rule from Marie Curie, not from us, from Marie Curie scheme, the funder. The contracts are 36 months. So this is very important because 3 years to complete a PhD is tight work, especially when you have to be also thinking about training and when you also need to be in the organization, the practice organization. So we're looking for people who are quite goal-oriented with the projects. They understand that they are coming on board to fulfill a project and to be able to complete it within the 3 years, ideally. It's not obligatory to complete within 3 years, but the employment contract ends after 3 years. And that's when, obviously, the financial part runs out. Look on the job advertisements because they list the gross salary for it, which varies by country because there's different salary levels in countries. It's important to know that you will be subject to the tax and social security rules of the country you're in. Yeah, so, and they vary by different country. So there can be differences. You'll notice differences in the salary levels, and there's also differences in how much tax is given. As with all jobs, the salary is listed as a gross salary, which means you still have to take the tax out and the social security out. Some countries explain that there is sometimes, it's not, in some countries, the salary includes what Marie Curie calls mobility allowance. Mobility allowance just means the understanding that all Marie Curie fellows must have moved country to take up the job. So the mobility is to cover the fact that you actually have to rent a house or rent an apartment or a room in your new country. Now, in some countries, that is put in the employment contract looking like a separate bonus. In other countries, it's combined into the salary. So, but that's listed in each each of the employment contracts, each of the, well, we listed in the employment contract and it's listed in the job advertisement for you to understand. What is good news is that you won't be expected to pay anything for the PhD or for the training. So if you have to, when you move for these 6-month blocks, those expenses are covered for you. And there's no PhD fee for you to pay, a tuition fee. That's anything related to effectively doing the job is covered by the project. Yeah, so the salary you receive is for your personal living costs. The only thing to note will be if you're going to move country. So if the PhD project envisages moving country, so some require you to move for 18 months. The mobility for living in the second country, that does still come out of your salary. So, but because it's going to be for 18 months, it's seen as you're able to then have a contract for 1 year, perhaps in your first location, and then move somewhere else for 18 months.
Hey, thank you, Michael. And we will, of course, answer if you have any questions about that. But first, Amel is going to present the eligibility criteria.
Yes. Okay. I will start with the MSCA eligibility. Every candidate must be very careful about these 2 MSCA criteria. At first, the educational qualification. You must not have a PhD. The second MSCA criteria is the mobility rule. So this rule explains you must not have reside or carry out your main activity in the country of employment before the contract beginning. The contract beginning is scheduled for the 1st September 2024. Five. These 2 criteria, educational and mobility rules, are very, very required. I want to, I have to insist about these 2 criteria, the mobility rule and the educational qualification for this doctoral network. So after the presentation, if you have questions, you can ask me about your eligibility by mail or after this presentation. After then, we will discuss about, if you agree, Hélène, we can discuss about the other following criteria.
Yes.
Okay. To be eligible for this doctoral network, you must also meet 3 other criteria. You have not permanently employed by the university for the position you are applying to. You have to meet the academic and language requirements of the university you are applying to. And you can carry out the secondment in the social partner sector. These 5 criteria are very important, but I have to insist for the 2 first MSCA criteria of eligibility, educational qualification and mobility rules. I don't see the PowerPoint.
I just changed the slide. Can everyone see it?
No, I can't see.
It's there, yeah. Do you want me to
Is
take
there a
over,
problem?
Amel?
Should I stop? Should I do it again?
No,
Because
the
I
slides
still,
are there.
the slides are there? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Amel, do you see it or not?
No.
No. So I will just go on then.
Okay.
Yes. And it's just, in fact, it's nothing new to what has been said before, but just insisting that, so Amel will be checking very thoroughly the MSCA criteria, because otherwise we are not allowed to recruit you. We will also, in Cocoso, we will also look at your academic background, which should be in a discipline related to the project. You will see the disciplines in the announcements, and probably you should, in your motivation letter, you should insist on the academic background that you have and how it is linked to your project. There is also, of course, you need to be able to work in the academic and in the practice environment, because as we have now said, the three of us, this is about working in university and in the social sector. You also need to have some adaptation skills, because changing countries, changing environments needs a lot of adaptation. And also, of course, intercultural skills. So should be prepared that things are not working the same as in your home country. And people are not the same. And you will be working with people from very different countries and cultures. As a network, we work very closely together. There will be a lot of work within the work packages where you will be in touch with supervisors and with other doctoral candidates. And so there is, of course, the communication skills will be very important. And the language skills, which depend on the country you're going to. But we will also look at the language skills, because when you go to a country where no one speaks English, you will need to have at least some basic knowledge of the local language in order to do the research. And this is the last slide, how to apply for a PhD position in Cocoso. So the official adverts are now online. Since last week, you can look at them on your access. We have put them all together on our Nanterre website. So you should have all the guidelines in each announcement, which tells you what to do if you are interested. And you also have an email address that you can write to. Amel will answer your questions. The deadline is 3rd of March. And what we want is that all 15 candidates are in place and have a contract on 1st of September this year. So this is the end of this presentation. So I will stop sharing the screen and I will invite you to ask any questions if you have any.
Hélène?
Yes. Oui, Amel, yes.
I have to say, please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any question about this criteria of eligibility or your particular situation. You can contact me by mail, and I will pleased to answer you. Okay.
Yeah, but we can also answer questions right now if you already have some.
Right now, after.
Yes, Celia?
Hi, nice to meet you. I have a question about one specific PhD. It's the 11, I believe, is the one that happens in France and in the UK.
Mhm.
Because since Brexit, to be able to work in the UK, you need a visa or some kind of document. So is the organization providing the work visa for the secondment in the UK?
Yes, they are providing you with the documents that you need to apply for a visa. The visa is provided by the consulate, British consulate, but they will provide you with the documents.
Okay, great.
Yes, hi, Marco.
Hello. Nice to see some familiar faces. I have a question about two questions. So the first is, I have a vague idea of what a PhD, or what a doctoral candidate would engage with or would do on a daily basis. But what does an industrial doctoral network, doctoral candidate do? Like, what's the time at the organization spent? Like, what would be the engagement? Would the person work in that organization? What role would they have? And the second question is more operational. In the application, there's a number of documents that need to be put together. And one of these documents is a dissertation, which is a very long document. Do you want that in one file or separate, or what do you prefer? Thank you.
So I suggest Michael answers the first question, and maybe Amel can answer the second question.
Okay, so to understand the industrial doctorate idea, each of the PhD projects was actually, the idea came from the social service. So it addresses a particular issue that they're facing in co-construction, in participation of people who use services or other groups. Yeah, so you're actually, through the PhD project, addressing a practice issue. Yeah, so you're not actually, whilst we want you to do excellent research, it's not about necessarily developing a new conceptual framework. It's about addressing a real issue. And the industrial doctorate means within your 36 months, you're 50% of the time in the social service employed, like working alongside other colleagues in practice, learning what they're doing. You will be working mostly on your own research project because it's connected to the social service, but you're much more embedded. It's not like you just go there to do some interviews or to do an observation. You're there working with a desk, with the other colleagues, learning a lot of what they work on, gaining a much better insight to realities of the social sector than you would as a PhD candidate, which will then actually help when you apply for jobs or when you potentially go on to develop future projects yourself. That's also why the PhD projects, you always have the two supervisors, one from the university and one from the non-academic sector, because you're getting more insights into the use of research and the relevance of research than a classic academic PhD would do. One of the things that we're working on to try and smooth is, obviously you have to think with two different hats, the university side and the practice side, and to be able to feel comfortable moving between those two worlds. But we're working, the supervisions will generally be joint, at least every 3 months. And then clearly when you're in university, you will be more connected to university. But the idea is you're much more strongly embedded in sectors that might use the research findings. And you can also gain a lot of experiential knowledge by being in those sectors. Does that answer? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Thank you.
So regarding the documents, sorry.
No, maybe just to say, industrial doctorates as a model usually happens a lot more in sciences. So when you work with laboratories or pharmaceutical companies, or it's very rare to have it in social sciences. And this is, as far as we know, the first time it's ever happened in a social work PhD network. So it's kind of, we're trying something new, but we are very excited about it. And the document is important.
About your document,
Mm.
about your master dissertation, is it?
Mhm.
If the file is very to exceed the size, excuse me, you can send separately in an email explaining that is separated due to the file size. I will reserve it in my email box.
Thank you.
Your question is if my master dissertation is a file with a lot exceeded the size, how can I submit it? You
Oh,
can.
not the size, just 90 pages. Do you want to, like, it's a bulky
Yes.
document. Yeah.
So what we would like is that it is one document including the motivation letter, the CV,
Yeah.
the recommendation letter, etc. So things that you're actually putting together and that are not so, you know, it's not 90 pages. It should be maybe 10 pages altogether. And this should be one PDF document.
Yeah.
And then the other things that we're asking for, like transcript of records or things like that, or the master dissertation, this could be separate. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amel will check all the documents, and if there is anything wrong, she will let you know. Provided that she has enough time. So you should then, you should give her time before the 3rd of March, because after 3rd of March, it won't be possible to submit anything else. Do we have any more questions?
Good afternoon. Can
Hi,
you hear me?
Melissa.
Hi, Elaine. Hi, everybody. I just have one question pertaining the language requirements. So I see that each position, apologies, have its own language requirement. Do we need to do a language test? And should the results of that language test be submitted with the application? Is there a prescribed score that we need to have on the language test? If you did your master's in English, do you still need to prove that you are English efficient? That's my only question.
Okay. Amel has an answer.
Yes, if your master is in English, you don't have to do the English certification. But in your master degree, you have to prove your master training was in English. But you don't need to add the certificate if your master was in English.
Basically, we're not asking you to do any test. We are asking you to prove your knowledge of the language. So that could be any kind of proof, like if you have any degree that you have done in this language, or if you have, for example, learned it at school and you have some records of that, or you have written anything in that language, then that would be proof enough. And we will check the language knowledge during interviews if you are interviewed. We will discuss with you in 2 languages. Okay.
Maybe we can just say for candidates who don't have a master's degree in English, that's not a problem. You don't need an English certificate to apply. but you would be required to have that English certificate by the time you start the employment contract, because
Yes.
you can't, and also actually in general, your employment contract can only start when you are enrolled for the doctoral program in the relevant university. So we can facilitate that doctoral enrollment process, but if you don't have the documents required, so if you don't have the English language test that the university accepts, or equivalent master's degree in English, or if you are still waiting for your master's diploma, we can't enroll you in the doctoral program, and you can't then get the employment contract. So they are connected, those two. And for the languages, for the jobs that have languages other than English, it's usually connected to the social service, where they say, oh, you need to have a language, you need to speak a certain language to work with people who use the services. That is more about oral fluency. So oral, written, oral and writing, no, oral and reading. You know, can you function in a French social service, for example? Yeah, and that we'll ask more at interview stage rather than, so that will be the interview discussion. That won't require a formal test.
Yes, but not a test, but we will not interview you if we see that you don't know this language, because then it doesn't make sense. So we need some kind of proof that you have a knowledge of this language. Just any kind of proof. Okay. So Jasmine, you have raised your hand. Hello.
Yeah. Good morning. It's nice to meet all of you. I had a few questions, actually. So it mentions that you can be of any nationality. I wanted to confirm if that's across Europe, or can I apply as a Canadian citizen?
No, it's any nationality around the world. We welcome you. If you come from Canada, we will be very happy.
Amazing. And my second question is, I'm already completing a PhD, but it hasn't been conferred yet. So how does that work? Because technically I'm only in my first year, so I'm nowhere close to obtaining it. So would I just switch into this PhD? What does that look like?
Michael, would you like to answer that?
I mean, I don't know the details of the PhD you're currently doing. Remember that these PhD projects are set. So you're coming, all the candidates are coming in to fulfill the project that's been. So in that respect, you may not be able to transfer much, depending what it was, from your original, the PhD program you're currently in. So the stuff you've gained, I mean, the training I'm sure will be very relevant, but not the topic and the focus is you're there for Cocoso. Eligibility wise, as long as it hasn't been awarded, you are eligible to apply. You would have to see also what your host university says about departure and like if they have any, what their exit options are. But you are eligible to apply, but remember you're applying for the Cocoso, to fulfill the Cocoso objectives rather than a wider PhD knowledge development.
Yeah, sorry, I meant more like transferring into the program, not transferring like credits or anything like that. More so like, would I leave this PhD behind and basically start a new one, or is there an opportunity?
Yes.
You said that there's no mention of like working projects on the side, but does that include like free work? Like if I were to like write up some research, for example?
That's a very good question that I would very much like us to come back to you about and to write up, because the only reason I say is sometimes Marie Curie is very strict about this 100% focus on the project, and I just can't say if even voluntary, unpaid, like, you know, sort of even charitable work, whether that falls in this distraction. Like they basically don't want people to be distracted. So so that's why we just need to get back to you on that.
Yeah, no problem.
I would also say, more from the human point of view, these networks are intense. Yeah, new countries, new people, moving around, social sector, doing your research project. We hope it's exciting and valuable, but the whole experience, we want it to be manageable, but it will be manageable when you know you have a 36-month window to just focus on that and enjoy it. Bringing in external activities or thinking, okay, I can do an hour in the evening every day, like it'll take its toll, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I would not recommend. Even for PhD students that I have now in France, and they're not in Cocoso, it's very hard to combine with other tasks if you want to fulfill it in 3 years.
Mm.
You should really keep in mind that you need to be focused on this project really for 3 years.
It's the way to enjoy
So
it.
this is a life choice that you have to do.
Thank you.
So then we have Zora. Hello, Zora.
Hello, everyone. I have 2 questions. The first one is especially for position number 3, which involves Spain as the secondment placement. And my question is regarding the knowledge of Spanish that need to be proved somehow. I am now attending Spanish course in a language school. I am at the B2 level course, but I don't have any certificate yet because I don't have the language exam yet. So in this case, how can I prove my question is, first of all, that B2 could be enough for this, B2 level of Spanish could be enough for this secondment placement, and how can I prove this kind of knowledge, of which I don't have any official certificate yet.
Yes, Amel? No? We can't
No.
hear you, Amel. Yeah.
Okay. In the PhD to offer Spanish, you have to prove your Spanish during the interview.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
You can.
so in the application, so we know that you have some kind of knowledge. You could just maybe send us a confirmation that you're enrolled in the B2 course.
Okay.
Okay. And when just also maybe at what time did you start that course? And so then we can have an idea of how far you got.
Okay, and do you think in general B2 level of knowledge of the local language in the secondment can be enough, or is it too low for?
I think you will also learn on the ground, of course, when you will be there. So the thing is, you need to have some basic knowledge, really, and then, but B3 is also about Portugal. So I don't know if do you have any knowledge of Portuguese?
No, I don't have any
No.
knowledge of
Okay.
Portuguese, English and Spanish. That's
Okay.
the languages
Okay.
I am the most
Yeah.
confident in.
Yes, just let us know if there is some proof that you're enrolled in a course, then that's a good start. And then we will see.
Okay,
Okay.
and then my second question is, how many positions can one person apply to?
Michael?
Okay, you can apply for as many jobs as you wish. If you only speak English and Spanish and maybe Hungarian, that will limit the number of PhDs you can apply for because some require a different language. Yes, so please only apply for the posts where you know you are eligible. You know, if we wrote a particular language in, if we wrote German, you need German. Yeah, if we wrote French, you need French. There's no wiggle room around that because, very soon, also with the industrial doctorate, very soon you will, after starting, you will meet your practice or the practice supervisor from the Greek mental health organization or from the German disability rights organization, and you'll start working yourself in, learning about their processes. So please just, you can apply to multiple posts if you are eligible for them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a question from Lisa.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Hello, everybody. I have also some questions. So maybe just using the question for the colleague about the options, Michael and Professor Hélène and also Amel. I was just wondering, for example, how you should also like I have a first option, but I also have other programs, like other projects that I think I could fit, and it would also be a possibility for me to apply. But I know, for example, I will be like the whole candidature for the project I have more interest. How should I go, for example, for the second one that I think, okay, I also fit in this position, but for me it could be a second option. How you see that candidature?
So every job has a completely separate assessment process.
Exactly, yeah.
So in that respect, even if you have a personal preference for which project you like, we don't ask you to give us a preference. You apply, and it'll be different groups of colleagues who do the assessment for each PhD project. You know, the assessment teams. Yeah. So what will happen is, you know, if you're very lucky, you might be offered 2 jobs, and then you decide which one you take. Yeah. But maybe the one you really think you like, actually you're not the top candidate, but then you are for the second. Yeah. So but they are, the recruitment is happening. The people who will look at the applications. So once Amel has checked that the eligibility is there, so we already know, yeah. Then what will happen is that the written applications will be assessed by the 2 supervisors and 2 additional colleagues from the wider network. So you're essentially, but these teams are different for each PhD project.
Yeah.
And that's why, and because it's different employers, like they are very separate processes. And then we see at the end what, you know, who was the top candidate for the process.
Okay, because no, it's just because I have seen in other projects, in other also Marie Curie selection process, that what you should do is, for example, you write like, sorry, you do the candidature for the one you fit better, that has more to do with your preferences, and then in the end of the process you write, I would also be interested as a second option for a project. Like, and then you say it. And so in this case, you think it would be better to like send the candidatures, for example, I send the candidature for the one I have more interest, but also I could do a second candidature for the project I also have a second interest, that I would also be interested.
Yeah, and please Marie Curie is a very complicated scheme, and there are different ways of doing it. This ranking scheme usually doesn't apply to industrial doctorates. So they're more centralized sometimes when people apply for, and they're asked to rank. But because of the nature of these industrial projects, it's not possible for us to say, okay, send us a general application, and then we think, are you eligible to work with mental health and children at risk of protection issues? Yeah, so you need to really, I would recommend, keep your applications completely clean. Whatever you apply for, you are applying for that particular post. Yeah, you don't even have to tell us that you applied for multiple ones.
We will see it. Amel will see it anyway.
Yeah, we'll know. But because one of the important things about the application is the reaction statement. So we ask people to write a reaction to the PhD project. What do they see as interesting about the research goals? What do they see as some of the challenges doing it? All the job ads list the same requirement for a reaction statement and a motivation statement. Yeah, and that's why you need to tailor it to all the projects. Well, some may even be similar between the applications, but you want to tailor it to the project, because the two supervisors who read it, they're thinking about who do they want to work with for the next 3 years.
Okay. The second question would be the proof of country residency. All the documents I have as work contracts, like former work contracts, and also I have a proper registration from Germany. So all the documents are in German. That should be more a question for Amel. How you see that? Should I send a translation? For example, here in Germany, we have like a basic document that say it's 1-page document that says your address, since when have you been living in this address in any place in Germany. So I have the proof of the places I have been living here in Berlin. How you see that? I also can send a contract document, but it also I think it's more normally a longer document, like more pages.
Yes. Amel, would you like to reply?
My mic. I can read in German, but it's a long document or a short document?
No, it's just 1 page, like very.
Okay, I can read in German. It's my first language.
Perfect,
Yes.
because it's just saying it's an Anmeldung document. It's just 1 page saying your address, say your name, since then you were living there. Good.
I can see the information.
So just generally for everyone, please send us any documents that prove where you're living for the past 3 years. So that could be a residency certificate, as the one you're talking about. It can be a work contract. It can also be work permits, rental agreements. Also, if you've been studying somewhere, the proof of registration, anything you have got. We need as much proof as possible because we will need to provide this proof to the EU. This is really very important requirement. So it would be very helpful if you can provide this proof right at the application stage, right now.
I just have my last question, and it should be about the reflection on the PhD project description. Could you say a little bit more about that? Because as I was saying, you have some explanation about the research project, and maybe you could say a little bit more about. I mean, we don't have much information about the methodology, theoretical framework. So, okay, I'm saying Michael is reading about that. Yeah, exactly this one. Could you just talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, I mean there is, if you read it carefully, there is quite a reasonable amount of information on the PhD projects in the job descriptions. So sometimes they talk about methods, they certainly talk about the organizations you're going to, and the work package theme that it's connected to. So for example, if a PhD project, if it's part of work package 1, that is trying to develop a better conceptual understanding of co-construction. So think about perhaps the work package goal and then the PhD objectives. And we deliberately only ask for a 2-page direct reaction to what you see. And we suggest, conceptual, methodological, and ethical issues. So it's essentially, maybe 2 paragraphs for each. Yeah. What is your reaction? reading the PhD? You know, the PhD project? You can be critical. You don't have to be critical. You don't have to. You don't have. Well, hopefully you'll be positive, but you know you can. You give us a discussion of what you think is interesting. Yeah. Was there something that immediately springs out to you? Are there any concepts you know that you think would be relevant to bring in? Methodologically, sometimes there's a little bit of information given, sometimes not. But you know, depending on what there is, you know, do you think what methods do you think would be useful? What could be challenging doing it? Might there be particular people excluded by certain methods? So you're offering a discussion of the limited information you have. Yeah, because that lets us understand how are you thinking about the project. Yeah, it can also be for those of you who have professional experience in these sectors. You can also bring it in, and you can say, actually, you know, the project is interesting, but you realize that you know from practice, you know, you can bring in discussions. We want to see what. And I would keep it very real, you know, actually say, you know, if you think it sounds like a challenging PhD, you know, say it. Yeah, and explain why. Yeah. You know, if someone writes that, okay, if someone writes that for the project on working with homeless people, it's great, they're very happy to do interviews, it'll be so interesting. We would think about all the dynamics of doing research with a marginalized group. What's the you know, when the researchers will be highly paid, internationally mobile people working with very marginalized groups. I mean, it creates ethical issues. It creates concerns about positionality. So there's a lot you could write, but only 2 pages. So keep it tight.
Thank you. Yeah, so sorry, now you say about the keep it tight, for also the CV. The size, like what it also you were expecting from a CV size, what you were like, you can say no more than this size. I'm not like, this is too much.
No, you can, I would say that the CV, you should put really in everything that you want to put into your CV.
Okay, because academical is a little bit more tricky than like a...
Yes, academical CVs are often quite long, and it's okay. So we can, I mean, the thing is we really need to know everything. I mean, not everything, but we need to know everything that may be relevant. So any experiences you have that is relevant to Cocoso or any publication, obviously everything you've been doing at university, I don't know, mobility, you know, international mobility experience that you have. No, you should really be, how to say, exhaustive in that, in that CV. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Can I just pick up a question from Rita that was written in the chat?
Michael, before Rita, I submit in the chat the Cordis link.
Yeah.
Cocoso introducing.
Yes, there is a description of Cocoso. It's also on our website. So that can be helpful for your reaction to the project. Okay, so then we have this question from Rita.
And Rita, do you want to say it or shall I?
She asked about her certificate, English certificate, has a deadline expire after 2 years. And she asked us, can she prove, can she add other proof of English, like publication or work experience with the certificate?
That will depend on the requirements of the university where you'll be enrolling for the doctoral program. So I can't say immediately what the I can't say immediately if they will accept it or not, especially with the expiry date. If you're for application, don't worry, just attach the old English certificate, but there is a chance that if you were selected, you would be required to then do an updated English certificate. It will depend on the university. Whilst we in Cocoso, as the Cocoso team, we try and do a lot of navigating university processes, but sometimes we can't overcome official requirements. But you don't worry about the application stage.
Yes, just at the application stage, please just send us the proof that you have, anything that will prove your knowledge of the language. Okay? Okay. Can we have do we have any more questions? If not, then I will just say thank you for your interest. We look forward to reading your applications. And as Amel said several times, please just write. So you will find an address to write in each advert. Okay, if you go on EURAccess, each job has their own address, so we know what you're talking about. So if your question is more general about several jobs, just choose one of them and write to that address. It will always be Amel responding, but then we will know what is the project that you're interested in. Okay? Okay, so thank you very much to everyone. We will post this the recording on YouTube, and the link will be on the same website. Yeah, and we look forward to reading you. We have a last question, the last hand raised, Nicolas.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm from Cyprus. Greetings from Cyprus. My question is, because you can understand we are professionals and we are also working. Okay, I understand that in our physical jobs might have to resign in order to put ourselves to this project. However, I also do some remote work, for example, or I have.
Yeah. Okay, Nicolas, we can't hear you anymore. But I think Michael has answered these questions earlier.
That I have to stop also this kind of stuff.
You have to stop everything.
Everything.
Yes.
Everything. Okay.
So you have to think about it.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, it's a Marie Curie. Sorry, Nicolas.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
No, it's just it's a Marie Curie requirement that will be written into the job contract that you must work 100% on Cocoso and you can't do anything else. So it's a requirement of and that's a very strict requirement. Marie Curie does not allow any part-time, any additional work. So that's why that is part of the decision to apply or to accept the job from the Cocoso network, is you do it with the hope that it will develop your career in the future. But you would be violating, it sounds very strict, but you would be violating the employment contract.
Yes.
If you
and then the consequences would be very bad for you and for us, because you would have to pay all the money back to the EU.
Okay, thank you for
don't do that. Sorry?
Thank you for clearance that, because okay, you can do it in another time, not while you're working in the I guess 8-hour
no, there is no possibility to do anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, for the
All right,
3
thank you.
years, you have to quit everything else. This is very strict, but this should allow you to write a good dissertation within 3 years. And after 3 years,
Okay.
you have a lot of new possibilities.
Okay.
After 3
Thank you
years,
very much.
you can work 24/7.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all your questions. And again, we're looking forward to reading you. Goodbye, everyone.